And I shared the application with Dan, really just kind of focusing on how we can support our Native American students, looking at academic supports, cultural experiences. Our APAC is going to the American Indian, Minnesota Indian Ed Conference this week. So we have like 10 people going to that, including students. So that's fun. After school tutoring, Danny's actually taking the lead on that. Next week we're hoping to start after school tutoring for our Native students. Been in contact with McGregor about attending their powwow. We did that a couple years ago, brought a student group, and it was great. The kids loved it.
I remember that everyone really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get to do that again. Like I said, I've reached out, I haven't heard anything yet, but hoping to take a bus over for them. And then classrooms did some activities during Indigenous Peoples Days. And then, yeah, we're working together with Lisa to figure out how we can better support our kids, looking at data and test scores and offering those services to our Native kids. So just wanted to give an update and share with the board.
Danny, Denise, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Really excited to go to the conference again this year.
Okay.
Bring something back. Maybe we can get some more things rolling.
Get some new ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what other schools are doing to implement what are they doing with their Native kids. So kind of excited to go to that, see what we can bring back. Excited to implement the things that we've already come up with on our own. So see how it goes and chug along. Here we go.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. So when we go down and we meet in like our districts for our boards, I'm assuming that our districts are kind of set across. We see that our district up north does quite a bit. Do you notice at the conference that districts further south or some of the metro districts or some of that, you don't see as many representatives to your conference?
It depends, because like a lot of times with the bigger schools, I mean they have Indian Ed departments, and so a lot of times those teams come to this conference. We have more parent representation, I would say, just because we're a smaller group. But it's fun to get together. I mean, we have dinner together as a group. Everybody gets together and just kind of chats about things that they've seen. It's typical. That it's a lot like other conferences where there's breakout sessions and things like that. So, you get to intermix and talk to other districts and other, families and whatnot. So it's really similar to the same format.
There's 11 federally recognized tribes in the state of Minnesota, in which 8 are the Ojibwe tribes, and then 3 are Dakota tribes. And those Dakota tribes are predominantly southern Minnesota with a lesser tribal population. So you'll always, from the northern part of the district and things like that, there's more Native, there's a mix of, there's a lot of Native students within a lot of their communities, of course. And then the Metro does have a lot of our Native kids and Native families that live there. So I know Red Lake has a high number that reside in the metro area, and I know Mille Lacs does, and I know most tribes do too.
Yeah,
so.
there are 17,000 American Indian people who live in the Twin Cities metro area, and when you're looking at the state and the activities that are being done in different school districts, I would say they're pretty comparable and yet a little bit different, because our Dakota siblings have more people that are in the southern metro area, and they seem to be doing more. They're not as spread out as I shouldn't say that either. That's not true. They are spread out too, but there's just a larger concentration of students in the Twin Cities area. And when you get, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But there's some good work that's being done around American Indian students, and understanding that our American Indian students don't learn the same. It's not that they're incapable of learning, they're very capable of learning, but we come from an oral society, and our people want to maintain an oral society. And so when our kids come into the school district, they're learning differently, and so it's just a different, you know, our classes are taught in a linear fashion, where our American Indian students learn in a circular fashion, and so it's different, and it's a little more difficult, and so we need to offer the support that they need, and this money that comes through the state has changed quite a bit. It used to be that some of the money could be used for both non-native and native students, and a way to break down those barriers and those walls. And what was found, whether it was true or not true, was that those monies were not addressing some of the concerns like learning gaps and different things like that. And so the legislature kind of, and the Department of Ed kind of tweaked the program a little bit, and they want that money to be spent on only American Indian students. And so
I gotta correct myself, there's 7 Ojibwe and 4 Dakota tribes. I gotta correct that for the record. So I'm thinking, what did I do here? I wasn't adding up.
this conference that we're all going to, it's an amazing conference. Students, staff, faculty, staff, administration, it's just a mixture of people who are there. But for students, there's a language bowl that it's kind of like Knowledge Bowl, only it's about language. It's about the Ojibwe language, the Dakota language, and so students are able to practice language skills there. And so, you know, there's fun activities. There's a student-led powwow that happens one evening, and so it's a really great place for our students to go to feel like they are part of something bigger, right? So, and there's a lot of learning that happens there. There's lots of interaction that happens with other schools that have been doing this longer, and to learn from them and to hopefully bring some ideas back here to help our students.
What's our count? Do we have an accurate?
26 this year.
26, okay.
So it's kind of funky that with the Mars data, they prorated a year behind in a sense. But kind of the cool thing this year, like Don says, they've really focused on the achievement gap, and so we've been looking at some specific data in regards to our specific kids. And in saying that, you know, I think that we have a cool opportunity just to provide more experiences specifically for our Native kids. So that's really what we have.
Thank you.
Just wanted to share.
Big Witch.
Thank you.
Which,
Looks like a robotic screws out there.
They are.
Yep.
Jim, would you mind maybe asking them if they,
Everybody else. Oh, you guys can see.
oh, yeah, I couldn't see.
I think he was listening.
I see Scott over here at the corner.
Oh, here comes the robot.
Oh,
Look at the smile a robot can put on your face. Right there's good. Let us see it.
Well, welcome. Can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Ashley from the Aiken Robotics team.
I'm Tanner. And I'm Trinity Schaefer.
Yeah, and we're 3 of like the 7 members on the Aiken Robotics team this year.
Okay. So tell us what you have here.
All right, so this is our robot, and we used basically the design for the competition, which was to take different sorts of PVC pipes or these big like dodgeballs and to score them in different sorts of slots depending on, and then with your team you would get different amounts of points, and the team with the most points would win the competition. We competed in, I think, probably about 11 or 12 qualifying matches and ended up getting ranked about 31 out of like 54 teams, which for a rookie team is like really good. Yeah, so we had a lot of support with a bunch of other people and definitely made some friends this year. It was really good.
That sounds really awesome. When does your club meet?
It's from basically the first day of after winter break till the competition, which was like end of February.
Okay.
And then every day after school till 5:30.
Yeah, and we currently still meet about once or maybe twice a week.
Yeah, just to figure some stuff out, and we're cleaning out one of the closets in the Fab Lab for space.
Okay. And what grades of students are able to participate?
7 through 12.
Okay. Nice.
Did you compete in Duluth?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
How many hours did it take you to build it?
I mean,
To just the concept, not all the stuff you had to do after, just from ground to concept.
we got this from a kit bot, so it was like we kind of had to follow instructions, but also added our own like things to it. So it probably could have taken us like 3 weeks, but I'd say this time around probably took us 5 weeks, 5-6 weeks to do it, and then also the coding as well and stuff like that.
I mean, our first year we had a couple setbacks, so it took us a while to like learn how to redo everything. We'd make a little mistake or something. So for next year, I think we'd be able to speed things up a little bit.
Awesome. And is your remote, it looks like an Xbox controller, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's an Xbox. It's just the easiest thing we could find.
Okay.
So you say you got a kit, so what's in the kit?
I mean, just like all the materials, the electrical stuff that you see on the bottom, and then like all the metal and stuff we got from the kit, and
So each year they like design like a kit bot that you can use, and from there you can either like use it as it is, or you can add on other stuff to compete with it. But some teams will just completely from scratch make their own robot. But during our first year we decided to go along with the kit bot.
Do they break the categories up then? Like if you're gonna use the kit bot versus a modified bot, do you compete against those modified bots?
But what'll happen is you'll be placed with, like in these qualifying matches, you're placed with a ton of different teams. So basically you're hoping to get on a team with someone really good and go from there. But you also play against other teams that are really good.
Well, in the long run, hopefully you're the really good team that everyone's trying to join.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of compliments this year from other teams because we could only score on like the lower thing, but a lot of teams were like, oh yeah, you can only do this, but you're very strong in your ability to do this. You're very consistent and built up like a very good ability there.
Are you allowed to drive this down the hallways during class hours to recruit more members for next year?
We did go around the lunches and do that and drive it around with like the 7th graders and like the 9th and 10th graders and stuff like that, and talk to them about it to hopefully get some more members next year.
Good.
Maybe it should be in the hall on the day the 6th grade comes and visits the 7th grade, and it's just driving down the hall and you'll get some kids.
Does your robot have a name?
We call her the Freedom Turkey.
She came up with that name.
No, I did not.
Can you share with us what kind of skills were you able to use
Yeah.
to put all of this together and then to compete too?
like any kind of STEM skills, science, technology, engineering, math, all sorts of those things went in because we had to code it, we had to assemble all these pieces, and then, like I said, we had like different challenges with setback, especially with the bumpers. So then kind of just like your critical thinking and like your problem solving, and then tons of teamwork, being able to communicate with each other and splitting up parts of the robot that we could each work on different spots, and just that communication of coordinating if the pieces are going to fit together and whose time it is to work on this. So yeah.
And then there was like probably 3 weeks before the competition, we were still like building it, and we have realized no one's actually doing the coding. So I had to figure that out, which took a while and I had some help, but.
So did you discover in the process that you were lacking some skills that you needed to go out and
Yeah.
figure out?
Yeah.
I had zero knowledge of coding whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, a
I
lot
had
of
to
these.
figure that
I
out.
think the only times we really used robots in Aiken was by like 6th grade science, like way back in the elementary school. Very like small understanding kind of thing, you know, just like the basics of getting introduced to it. Compared to like getting here and actually like building our own robot, assembling it. And Mr. Henke and Mr. Miller are really good about like giving us like the tools to build it. And then they'll totally help us if we need help, but a lot of it they'll kind of be like, well, here's your instructions, you know, you guys can figure it out, let me know if you need help. Yeah.
I bet it's really rewarding to press your buttons and have it move, right?
Yeah, the first
And
time.
then to compete.
The first time we got it was fun, because it was like a day before our practice competition that we got it to move, so it was relieving.
Good for you, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and then much of this, the expense, whatever, Mr. Hankey had written a number of grants, like NASA, St. Cloud Tech School, graphic packaging. I shouldn't have started naming them, because I'm gonna miss some, but number of area businesses donated towards it and helped cover the expenses of it. And now, it may be do or don't, but now we have the base robot, so next year we'll have this, and then whatever the task is next year, they kind of have something to start with. It's not coming in boxes or kits. They'll have this, unless they decide to go totally different with something, but now at least they have a start to it.
Yeah, I think we'll probably try and stick to this, like a similar, like just this, but actually like fine tune it to what it needs to be doing, because it'll be every year it's a completely different competition and a different theme. So this year was like called Reefscape, and it was all like ocean themed, and there was like algae on the field and stuff like that.
Can you set the coral on the table, or is it not the right height? Or isn't it?
I can't set it on the table, but I can shoot it out.
Well, okay, don't put it through any glass, but you want to show them how what it was doing, so.
So there was like a thing.
Like a trough.
It's called a trough. Basically, it catches the coral, and we had to put it in there, and then we would shoot it. And then we would just do that over and over.
Yeah. So they have to go in, it would get loaded, and then they'd have to work around other robots. We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah, each team has like 2 human players is what they call them. And so those people would be like putting in new pieces of coral. Or if you had like the balls of algae, which we weren't able to manipulate, but you could take those and you'd have to shoot them into like this huge netted area. So.
Yep.
Fun.
Now I'm understanding that more here. So you're looking at it.
It was fun. They did live stream the competitions. I was trying to keep up with them. It was one.
It's a really fun competition to go to.
So.
Congratulations. on
Yeah.
being the first.
That's really great.
And I'm thrilled that this is happening, because we live in an information age, and you have to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are noticing and are proud of you, and hope that you continue to do it. So thank you.
Well, it helps a lot of our team, I think, by 4 of us, 5. The majority of our team is 10th graders, so we still got quite a few years left to
Yeah,
participate. And that really helps.
I think it's great. My daughter's, I heard about you guys, my daughter's roommate's an engineering student at UND, and she's an advisor for a team in South Dakota at her high school. And they competed against you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, the community there is so good. Like, if you need help with something, there's always a team that's willing to lend you a hand. So you definitely get like those bonds there with like friends and just being able to work with other people super well.
So, are any of you thinking and considering an engineering career?
Personally, not necessarily.
I think Will might be.
Will, we're supposed to be driver, but he's sick
Yeah.
today. He is, I believe, going into civil engineering, so.
That's awesome. I don't think so for me personally.
I've thought about it, but it might not be my number one choice. It was a little difficult.
But I mean, like you were saying, I feel like no matter what kind of career I go into, like knowing this stuff and just any kind of skill you like learn, it's gonna help you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's right.
Life skills.
Definitely.
teamwork.
Good job, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thanks guys
you.
for coming.
Good job.
And we also had some buttons for you guys.
Oh, thank you. Oh gosh, these are fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, good job.
Thank you. I love it. Every team has swag.
Thank you guys so much.
To think about,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. Swag.
Thanks guys.
Mine too.
Yeah, see?
Latte.
Okay, next is old business. We need a motion to approve the policy's second reading. Policy 516621 and 906.
So moved.
Motion by Don to approve all of the policies after the second, or as of the second reading. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Holly. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. Okay, new business. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
It's all the 8A items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Holly. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Don. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I will abstain due to a potential conflict of interest, so motion passes with the remaining members voting yes.
Madam Chair, before we move on, we have a few of these folks who have served in the district for a while under these 8A. And I think we just should pause and acknowledge them and say thank you for their service.
Yeah, we have two teachers that are retiring. Angie Hanlon and Shannon Weimer have been a part of Rippleside for a number of years. Have been a big part of what we do at our elementary school. Chris Weston, the custodian, has taken a job out at Long Lake. Been a big part of just keeping the building going over there. And then, Lara Parkin, community education director, has also resigned to take another job. So the kind of all angles across the district and particularly within Rippleside, they're losing some fixtures within the building. So I want to wish Angie and Shannon the best of luck in retirement, and Christy and Lara the best as they move on to other endeavors. So they've been great people to have on our team.
Yeah, I would agree, thank you. Okay, so that brings us down to 8B.
Yep, you want me to jump in, or?
Yes.
So 8B1, Legislative Citizen Commission of Minnesota Resources. This is a grant resolution I've been working on with ICS. It would go with our potential building project. They have a grant or a grant fund that we could maybe access some dollars to help build trails, outdoor learning facility, outdoor learning spaces. If we should get to where we're building a school out at the district land. I need to have it submitted by April 1. I need a resolution, and the resolution's there. I just need the board to approve it so I can attach that to the application, and I'll get it submitted.
Is this only if we get to move forward on the building?
At this point, it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If we wanted to submit a different plan to go towards this for outdoor learning in our current spaces, is this something that is available to us for that? Or is this only going to be able to
This
be utilized
resolution is for
for this, but if we couldn't get it for the land,
yeah.
could we go back for this money?
other than, I don't know if there's another, if it's just once a year. I don't know if that, this part of it is due April 1. So I don't know if there's another time frame that we could jump in and ask again.
Yeah, and there's other grants available for the school forest improvements that we've.
So if we don't get this one, we could also look
there's
into, okay.
There's other, yeah, for specifically the school forest property.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll make a motion that we move forward on the resolution.
Motion by Holly, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Roland, any discussion? Any other discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes.
All right, 8B2 is our fund balance policy, currently set at 25% in light of where we're at financially. I know we've talked about at the board level of as much as 15% or 20%. I'd make a recommendation to the board that we reduce that policy to 20% to give us some flexibility. That still gives us just over 2 months worth of funds available should funding stop, which in typical years, I wouldn't have a lot of concern about that, but with the concern about title and SPED fundings coming from, maybe have a little bit more of a concern about where we go with that fund balance. So if no indication that the title and SPED funding from the federal government will stop, but as I shared with board members and others, is typically the federal funding has been pretty steady. We could count on it. It's not going to fluctuate a whole lot, but I don't know. I'm losing my confidence in that. I'm not as confident now in that as I was before. I think we got to see what shakes out here. But my recommendation is, and that's why I recommend going to the 20% as opposed to the maybe 15 or lower.
So I'll make a motion to change our policy to reduce our fund balance to 20%.
Motion by Brian, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Holly, any discussion?
I just want to say, I do agree with you, Dan, that now is the 20%. I know at our discussion, we had talked about 15 because as a board, we felt confident in that, but I do agree with you with where our federal funding is sitting, and I do think 20% for now, because we can always change it again later. So.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes.
All right, thank you. Next up, school calendar. Every year I say I'm going to do the school calendar earlier, and every year we're approving it in March, which makes it challenging sometimes for some of the scheduling next year. Following a fairly similar pattern to what we had last year. It's a different look on the calendar. My assistant Jeannie we're trying to lay things out differently, and we do one version and we get some people say, well, that looks better, I like that. And then the next response or next feedback I get is, oh, I don't like that, it looks too busy or it doesn't. So this is this is a new look. I think we have everything marked and identified as best we can. One change we made is in the end of March, where we would have had conferences on a Thursday night. It's also the same night we're currently scheduled to have a musical. So on the high school, we moved conferences I think to the Tuesday night of that week, which might work out better anyway. That way elementary parents can get to a high school conference. They won't be at conference at the same time, and vice versa. High school parents, high school staff will have elementary kids. Might have a night available. So we'll see how that works. But otherwise, it's fairly similar to what we had done this year. There's some more workshop days, kind of tied up with REDACT and letters training and the other legislative training that we're doing. There's been some proposals in the state legislature to change that. I don't think any drastic changes are gonna happen. I think we're still, and I think we would do it anyway. I think it's good training for our staff, but it's another, I would ask the board to approve our calendar, and once again, I'll say I'm gonna try to bring it to you before Christmas next year.
What's November 6th and 7th? Says no school for students.
It's conferences and workshops.
Conference and workshop, I think.
Deer hunting.
Why can't that be the week after?
It's into the quarter. We try to tie it around the end of the quarter. So yeah.
I just have to tell you, Roland, as a parent, don't make me have 2 short weeks in a row with my kids and then send them to a full week the week after that, because that just doesn't work very well for their attention spans.
I'm not following you.
Like when my kids go to school for 3 days one week and then 3 days the next week when it's a 5-day week, by Thursday they are a pile. So I really do prefer the couple spreads of full weeks in there to keep my kids on schedule.
Why do you suggest moving it, Roland?
Deer hunting.
Can't be more honest than that.
Yeah. But it does line up at the end of the quarter, so teachers have time to do grades and conferences.
Just let me just hold on to this thought here for just 1 second.
Isn't that deer hunting anyways?
No,
That's a week before.
it's 2 days before. And then the next year it'll line up the same. I'm just trying to look. I'm not, just because I hear it and, yeah, it may line up the following in a couple of years. I just threw that out there. 'Cause
Well, that's why.
When you look
Yeah.
at when the committee looks at the calendar, do you run any sort of reports to show like common absence days or things like that, or
There is so much conversation about so much.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm speaking about this, let me say thank you to the team that deals with this. Because you would think it would be fairly easy and wouldn't change a lot from year to year. It is a massive amount of work, and there's differences between Rippleside and the high school, and that all has to be taken into account. When's the best time to have parent-teacher conferences? It isn't the same in the high school as it is at Rippleside. When does data come in? I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that you have to take into consideration, and then trying to make sure that the same number of days are in each of our semesters, each of our quarters. It's just so much. So all of that is talked about and then some.
So Veterans Day is, I think I have the 11th on mine, but does it say 10 there? Mm-hmm. It says 10 here on this calendar.
Are you looking at the right year on your calendar?
Hold it. Yeah, I think so. What year is it?
It will be 26 next year, or 25.
Yeah, isn't it
So-
25 right now?
Yeah, so that November's 25.
So November 25, Veterans Day is the 11th.
I got the wrong day on it.
Here it says the 10th. It was that, but you can't split the workshop and the thing like Friday, Monday, but, okay, I just throw these out there. Brian gets it.
I have no discussion points. I stay off of that committee for that exact reason. I know it's a lot of,
Yeah, I realize that, yeah. I'm not trying to put it in front of education, but it just sometimes happens.
Did you want to see it? Okay. So I need a motion and a second. I'll make the change. I'll have Jeannie make the change on make sure we have Veterans Day listed right. I'm assuming we just kind of rolled that over and that's where it fell.
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar.
Motion by Holly, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dawn, any discussion? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes.
All right. Thank you.
Superintendent evaluation, I can report that the board did complete the superintendent evaluation for Mr. Stifter. We went through a formal process where he completes the evaluation with the preset questions and goals. Each of the 7 board members completed their individual assessment, and then I, as the board chair, compiled it into one document. There was a total possible of 340 points. He received 283 points out of that 340 points possible, which is 83%, which is a little bit higher than the average score of 4, which is considered very good performance. So we appreciate the work that you're doing on behalf of the district, including categories of providing leadership, informing and advising the board about different activities, keeping the board informed of all of the things that we need to be working on the educational needs of the school district, including policies and things like that for board action, acting as the liaison between the community and the school district, and responding to the needs of and concerns of different stakeholders. Also overseeing all the financial operations. There was a lot of positive comments also about Heather and the work that you're doing, and we appreciate the collaboration that's taking place with your administrative team with respect to all the financial aspects that are happening with there. And then also looking at that comprehensive strategic planning process, including the short-term and long-term planning. We, as a board, submitted comments on what we wanted to see for specific goals for Mr. Stifter. He reviewed that as well, and so those continue to be in line with our strategic planning process and our strategic plan that we have developed over the last couple of years. So those will be the specific things that he will continue to work on with those. So that, I think, is our major summary, and again, we appreciate the work that you're doing. We're glad that you're here. We're really proud of the work that you're doing every day.
Thank you.
Is there anything that anyone else would like to add? That was my summary of the summary. Okay. All right. Did you have anything specific you wanted me to go over?
No, I don't, then pull it up if you want to look at it. I think I can pull it up.
I think we probably need to have a motion to approve the evaluation.
I'll move to approve the evaluation.
Motion by Dawn to approve the superintendent evaluation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jen. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. Okay. And do you have like a...
I don't have the... There's a 5.1% over 3 years. 5.1.
Okay. Next on the agenda is to discuss and approve the superintendent contract for 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, and 28. We also, as a board and as the personnel committee, have reviewed Mr. Stifter's contract as the superintendent. We are, the committee has recommended that he receive a 2% increase for each year of those contracts, and then basically a cash equivalent for...
It's over the 3 years, about a 5.1% increase, 5.1% increase.
So over the course of the 3 years, it totals a 5.1% increase, so. that's the recommendation that's coming forward. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Motion by Holly, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dawn, any discussion? Anything else that you would like to add?
No, I just, I feel it's in line with what I'm seeing with other districts. I don't think it's outlandish. I understand where we're at financially. With everything, this is where I want to be, so I appreciate the evaluation that I received and look forward to another 3-year contract. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's the information that we found too was in line with other places, so. There's a motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes.
Thank you.
Next is the budget discussion.
All right, I've shared with the board. Then we run through, I'm gonna stay away from using names, although most people sitting here know who's attached to them, to attach the different things, but we're looking at this. Initially, we're looking at about a $900,000 potential budget deficit, $965,000, I believe it was. Initially, I looked at how can we even get to zero on that in 1 year, so we're not at a great budget deficit. Just looking at that, the cuts and what we would have had to do, in my mind, and it just seemed to be too much. That's where looking at trying to reduce the general fund number came into play, and that's when it became part of the conversation. Have looked at a number of different things, and has been working on this for a number of months. And before I go any further, I don't know that any of this is good. I feel like I spent a lot of time trying to figure out which was less hurtful or damaging, less, to what we're doing. So, so with that, we did have, we did do offer the insurance incentive. We had 2 staff members take us up on that, teachers take us up on that, another teacher retired. So it gave us a little bit of flexibility, or it helped to an extent. We do have, and I've been saying since the last time around we moved 3 sections of the high school, not that it was ever easy at the elementary because people were being impacted by that. But it's not, when we lose a section at the high school, there's seven different hours a day, 7 different staff members that get impacted by that. So we could have gone with 7 staff members at 0.86, and made a cut that way, which I considered, I looked at, but again, so we did. Our social studies department in high school is heavy. I shouldn't say heavy, has 1 extra staff member compared to the other departments, as does math. The individual that's low in seniority of math teaches all but one of, I think, of our college math courses. As we're trying to keep students here, and we're fighting that battle, it seems like every quarter, being able to offer the college credits is important to our students, important to our programming. And then the social studies, the low seniority person in social studies does have a 512 social studies license. So that there's a possibility there of having that individual fill one of the retirement spots and having them stay in 6th grade is my thought. That could also be 5th grade, but in visiting with Andy and Mr. Dockin, we thought it'd be 6th grade. There's a staff member that still has a job, be quite different. Rippleside is a full 3-section school. Again, looking at specialists, right now we have band, we have science, STEM, I should say, Phi-Ed, which is physical education, is required, and then band. our band is kind of taken off at Rippleside. It's flourishing. I didn't want to cut into that. My thought, and then the discussion went back, and my thought went back and forth. Our current, get my grades right, first grade has 56 kids in, roughly. We could have gone 2 sections there. And they're trying to weigh, is it better for our kids to have 3 staff members in 3 sections in second grade? Our second grade staff this year have a large number because we did go to 3 sections with a larger group. They're at about 25, 26 kids. Our teachers are doing well with it, but I've heard it's not ideal. So I thought it's either specialist or 2 sections in second grade. I decided to stay with 3 sections or go 3 sections in second grade. And we'll have to redo and realign the specialists schedule at the elementary and the high school. This was a tough one because this individual's done a nice job with getting our working in our business program and getting things going. But there are some classes there that with the reduced sections with more senior members in the school, through social studies and math and so on, that can pick up some of those business classes. Will it look the same? No, it probably won't look the same. But we can cover many of the standards there with between math, social studies, some of the technology we picked up by our science. Again, I feel like it's tough. I don't know where else it's just. There's not it's not.
It sucks.
There's nothing good, right? It's not better than the other.
Every one of these that you've mentioned is going to negatively impact students.
Everything I'm going to share with you in the budget reduction will have, I think, a negative impact on what we offer our students.
You know, I guess I'll just speak for myself. I appreciate the time that you've put in on it. Okay, I know it's a difficult process, and it does affect our students, you know, and it affects our staff. It affects everybody. The struggles that I have is, you know, we've had 4 days to look at it. There's just, you know, to be able to, I don't think it's not my idea to make decision like this in 4 days. There's just things within here to look at from a more of a little deeper dive, I think. But could you explain the timeframes, and then I'll go on my thought process of this?
You want me to go through the rest of the proposal, or just we're good?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, it's up to.
They haven't though.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we would like you to go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Another reduction is moving to a 0.5 in the AD position at the high school. That would be a reduction there, which impacts staffing. Chris Weston, I mentioned, and we talked about, she had resigned. We're not going to fill that position at this point in time. We're looking to try and fill that. So we'll fill her position. Rippleside will have a daytime custodian, but where that person's moving from, we're going to try to fill that on an as-needed basis. We have a sub that's willing to come in and help out when fields need to be painted, or on evening in the winter during games or whatever. So we have some reductions there. Another one, Beth Galkey is retiring. She will be retiring. Can't remember if she's got her, but Beth's another person that does 101 things for 101 people. At this point, we're not planning on filling that job. We'll have others have to pick up some responsibilities there, and then we're looking at reducing some paraprofessional positions at the high school. I think that's kind of on an as-need basis. We feel our need for some special ed services special ed pairs at the high school based on what we look like coming in. The thing with special ed, we don't get the full 100% deduction in that because there is some funds that we just can't claim without having that person. So that's between a 20 or 25% of the total cost is all that really reduces reduces our expenditures. I'm also proposing that we add $20, additional fees, $20 to our junior high and our fine arts. That would move the fee to $80 per participant, and then $30 to high school 912 activity sports and co-curricular activities. It'd be then that puts $150 per activity, and I'm looking at a $600 a year family gap. I believe that was $500. So if families have a number of kids or going 3 seasons, there is a cap on that. Another thing we've been working on and trying to really, and I've had staff really working on, is reducing overtime hours across the board. And that's been, and sometimes things just happen. If we have 3 buses go down, I have 1 mechanic, we're gonna need mechanics, gonna have to put in some overtime or similar situations, but we're really trying to get away, trying to reduce overtime. And we're looking at a variety of subscriptions and programming that's used, trying to determine which ones get most use, or making sure we're not, hate to use the word redundancy, because it feels like that comes up a lot right now, but make sure we have, we're not paying for 2 programs that basically do the same thing. We haven't really found that. I think our staff and our tech have been pretty good, but there are a couple things that maybe we can do without. Anyway, put it all together, I'm looking at about, between reductions and additions to fees, looking at about $450,000 of combined savings and additional funding to get us halfway to that $900,000. So we'll still be deficit spending for a year. With our enrollment declining every year, this isn't, 3 sections are gonna come. Next year we'll have 1 section, following year we'll have 2. We're gonna have a process of this every year for a couple of years, so that's how the board will have to look at it. I know some districts have, I think it's between 80 and 85% of the districts in Minnesota are making cuts this year. And one superintendent who told me he wasn't making cuts, it's because he cut twice what he thought he'd need to cut last year. So he's sitting good this year. They got 1 year where they haven't had to make cuts. So that's kind of how we kind of wrote it out this last 2 years, basically, with where we're at. But now we got to make some reductions. Now, Ron, I didn't mean to cut you off. Ron.
No. She started to talk, so I thought we were moving.
Sorry. I was out of, Cindy, you should have told me I was out of order.
Yeah, see, Cindy should have went her first instead of me. So, no, I appreciate it, like I said. And just by seeing this, to get 4 days on it and then say we gotta make a decision that affects a lot of people, it's it's just a little fast for me. That's all I'm gonna say. So go to the timeframes of what we would have to let people know. Just let me know that.
Yep, so in the teacher's contract, board has to approve a plan. We have to talk to the staff that are involved or affected by a reduction before April 1st. And then the official notice has to come to them before June 1st. So this is so nobody will find out June 1 that they don't have a job that weren't informed of by now. This is kind of the lead in to that.
So by April 1, we have to.
April 1, we have to, yep.
Okay, so by saying that, we have 13 days to, if we.
And I
do that.
apologize for not getting it out. I thought I had it ready to go early the first week in March. And I sat down and visited with Heather and realized my overly optimistic math as a social studies teacher was impacted by actual numbers, actual math with my business manager. So I had to recalculate some things. So that's what, and I told staff too, I was gonna try to know by March, inform them by March 1st, I think it was. It just wasn't there, so.
I have a question for you, Roland. Are you looking at making revolutionary changes to Dan's proposal? Because as a person sitting on the other side of this, waiting to find out, I feel like those 13 days is a very long time in their lifespan. You know what I mean? Like when you're waiting to find out, that feels,
13 days
is a hard time to live through. And so, if there was something like that you're just adamantly against, I feel like we can have that conversation. But if there's stuff in there that are accepting, I do feel like that should be like we should just be open and talk about that so that we can give the staff peace of mind, because if we wait, I feel like we will have more staff that worry that there's gonna be more, or there's gonna be this, it's gonna be me. It just leads to a lot of undue stress longer term, is where I sit on that. I have my own thoughts about this, but mine is on the side of, if I was sitting on that other side, I don't know that 13 more days is gonna make me feel any better about the news.
I feel like I have not done my due diligence with this. That I haven't had it long enough to really dig into it, to really explore what is this gonna look like in action? And how much damage is it going to do?
Yeah, I echo Don's, is that I don't feel the due diligence part of it has been done by, at least myself. I mean, I honestly don't.
I trust Dan.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't trust you and the work that you've done, and I know that you have poured a lot of time into this. But as a board member, I just need to do my due diligence with it, and I just don't feel like I've had it long enough, and that I've asked all of my questions and had those questions answered. And I just want to be able to see how is this really going to affect? Yes, we have to make cuts, but I don't want to just rubber stamp something and then find out later that it had a significant impact and hurt staff, students, families. I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And I just have some concerns. And I'd like to explore really what is happening here and how is it going to impact. I really want even though we're having to make the cuts, my ultimate goal and desire is that this be a strong school district where students are advancing and doing well and learning and having opportunities like robotics and whatever else we can offer them. But I just don't feel like I've had it long enough, and I have some questions.
I agree. I have things I'd like to talk about too. You know, for example, can you combine the media position with the social studies person somehow so that we're not losing that media time? Can the AD role be combined with the community ed role to meet our needs without making such changes that affect people? Probably my biggest question is making reductions are awful. In addition to people losing their colleagues and their friends, they're all now asked to do more with the same amount of salary and time that they're already working with. And so what is the long-term plan to keep morale and to keep our current staff happy with them knowing that we're facing this same situation next year?
Cindy?
One question that I have really is, I know we've talked a little bit about like the amount of money that we spend on our sports and activities, and I know that that's really important, but cutting staff is also really important. And I know that my assumption is that a significant amount of the expense associated with those activities are coming from our very, very active and generous booster clubs, but I anticipate that that's going to be a question from the community too. So if there could be sort of some commentary or discussion on that, I think that's a question that I'm anticipating getting.
Yep. And typically our co-curricular activities, from whether it's sports or any other competitive, knowledge bowl, whatever, usually about less than 3% of the budget. I don't have a number where we're at currently, but of our total budget's about 3%. And then you can look at that a number of ways as to how many kids are involved. You know, is that whether it's a sport or Knowledge Bowl, BPA, or whatever, you know, any of those. Just like everything else, I guess it's cost benefit analysis, but I can't argue with anything anybody's saying. There's nothing, and as far as the morale question, I've been out at the Capitol, I'm going down again Wednesday, but you know, they indexed the per pupil funding at inflationary rate, which you're saying is gonna be about, however they're figuring, it's gonna be about potentially 2.75% increase in overall funding for us next year. If they don't change that. I understand there's still a chance they could backtrack on that as quickly as they put it in place. Maybe not for this next year, but the following year. Many organizations asked for additional funds above that, and that was shot down right away. So the idea of what are we gonna do next year? I don't know. You know, and we did have talks with Mr. Klein about when do we start looking at reducing number of activities or combining, and I think that's something we really got to dig into between now and next year, because I don't know that we can continue to offer everything we do. And where does that go, and what's that look like, right? So,
And tell us again, what is the per pupil rate that we receive currently for funding?
7281.
Yeah, I think that's right, 72, just under 70, which can vary based on like some students that have title funding or there's some we can receive a little more for because it costs more. Not enough necessarily to cover all the expenses, but you know, like 7,281. Yeah, is what we get per student now.
Dan, I have a question about compensatory spending.
Yep.
And maybe it's more a question for Heather. How much have we lost in that?
About 90,000,
Yeah.
right?
It depends on what year you're talking about, because way back when, we were down to 360,000, and now we're getting approximately 760,000.
So,
Depends on which year you're
so
comparing
if
it.
we're just looking at this last year, it's about 90,000 that we're missing,
Yeah.
that we ordinarily would have.
Part of the reason we didn't, and that's a good point, part of the reason we have a couple years we'd have to cut is because our compensatory funding came up. And the whole compensatory funding comes back to the free and reduced lunch applications. And I'll blame my association, every other association, because we said, well, let's figure out a better way to do compensatory since we're giving free meals. We probably didn't have a good plan to fix that, so legislature just said we don't have to do free and reduced lunch applications anymore. And we didn't put anything in its place. And we still collected them, but I think we're gonna have to go back and really push that again much more. The direct certification numbers, which we thought would accommodate or make up, that's not equaling out. There's a lot, direct certification are families that are receiving benefits, food stamps or benefits like that. Well, we have a significant portion of our students in the state who don't receive that, but still would qualify for the federal free and reduced. So we're missing, unless we've had those families, so those got missed. And it's, boy, I've been on my soapbox on that so often. So we gotta go, basically the message is until, we're gonna try to hold it harmless, which means we'll go with the last time forms were collected. There's two versions of that. One is gonna cost us about $90,000 if we go the one way as opposed to the other, but districts across the state are split. Some will benefit from this, some will benefit from that. If nothing changes, I think we're better off. If they do make a change to it, we're gonna lose some revenue there. But compensatory is funding that we get from the state to offset poverty, the low end, because we're a poverty area. There's a calculation based on our free and reduced lunch numbers and our direct certification numbers. I'm not a formula guy, but I don't know that anybody really knows the compensatory funding. We all wait, until MDE puts out those numbers, and then we either celebrate or we cry. So,
Well, I think $90,000, we're talking about a teacher.
yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
Is-
huge.
Is there more that we can be doing as a district to be encouraging enrollment here? 50 students at that 7281 is $364,000. And so that to me, your only other option besides cutting is to try to find ways to bring in revenue, right? And we can't necessarily do it on the backs of activity fees and, things like that, right? Because families are hurting all around, right? It's not just the school district that's hurting, families are hurting significantly as well. And so I think that there needs to be some serious conversations about what we can do as a district to try to increase our enrollment. Because that, like I said, 50 students is $364,050. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna, when you're talking there, you're right, and I don't know what that marketing scheme or plan would be, but with the increased fees for families that can't afford it, there is a Minnesota State High School League Foundation. There's some dollars there that a family comes forward and says, hey, my kid wants to play basketball, we can't afford the fee. Then we can apply for this foundation grant and fund. We can apply those funds to it. So that's a grant we write every year based on, we get foundation money based on our free and reduced numbers, which now I say I don't know what the number is I use for that now, being we don't do free and reduced forms. West Behold Harvest, where we were 2 years ago, I guess. So there is, for those, it just reminded me there are, for families that can't afford the increased fee, there are some options where we have to help them out.
I do have some thoughts on the budget planning. I do have some questions. First, I did stop and ask about what the cuts to the activities program with just what this plan is. And it was 11% of the total, but it's only 7.9% of our general fund cost that we're cutting with what we have down here. But that would be obviously a little bit of raised revenue, so we might have a little bit difference in that number. My question is, with bringing our staff down at elementary, what is that going to do to our contractual prep times and other things? Because I know our specialists come in and cover prep times, and those, how are they all gonna get covered? And are our teachers still gonna have their prep time? Because if we're also not offering overtime,
Right.
we can't,
No, we'll have to.
can't cut both.
And that's part of making this decision, is so we can work on those schedules and those rotations, make them work. But yeah, contractually, we have to give our teachers their earned prep time. There's unless they agree to, I should say, contract. We have a lot of staff that'll sub during their prep time, but then they get compensated for that. So we're fortunate that they're willing to sub. But yeah.
And I do believe that we could have cut more out of our activities and our sports, and I do understand that Dan and I had this conversation earlier that with the uncertainty to federal funding, we have no idea what's coming for us next year and how truly those cuts may end up affecting us, because we are federally funded fairly high for a rural district or most school districts. So that's another major chunk depending on what happens there. So I do see the validity in that. We didn't touch our activities because that may be a larger cut than we expect next year, depending on what happens and what shakes out between all of our funding. So I do understand that, and I do think when we do get into that, we need to be keeping it fairly even between our knowledge bowl, our robotics, our fine arts, and our activities, because we have a large portion of kids that do not participate in athletics, but do participate in fine arts, and so we will have to make more decisions that are gonna offer up that for both sides, so that we don't end up a sports heavy, no fine arts activity for your other kids, because athletics and activities are for everyone, so we have to make sure we hang on to those. So I was worried about their timing, and if we're cutting overtime, we can't cut into that. But I do see that we are right sizing. We all talked about right sizing, and we have to right size at some point, and it really sucks. It sucks because it's people. But when we're a 3-section school, this is gonna be something that comes along the way. So those are my things. I'm always going to put education over athletics, so I would have liked to see that be cut more, but I understand all of this. It makes all sense to me in my business mind.
Yeah, I just want to say, most districts in the state are in this unfortunate situation, as you pointed out, Dan. I think you did a good job evaluating all the different options. I don't have a full understanding, like Ron said, of all those options. I would have liked to have seen the actual costs associated with the primary options you're presenting, plus maybe some of the alternatives. That would be very helpful to the board, I believe. I think this issue was foreseen over a year ago as affecting most school districts in the state, and the legislature did nothing to help the situation, even though they're continuing to brag about record funding for education, but they tacked on record mandates that are actually costing us more money than what they provided us, and that's really unfortunate. You know, shame on them for doing that. That doesn't help anybody, and I don't see any changes happening with this legislature from what you reported to us, Dan. So we have to solve this ourselves, each local district, and the tools we have to do it are very limited. And you know, you pointed out we're a shrinking district with reductions in enrollment. That's the biggest. That's where a primary source of our revenue comes from. One of the major ones.
You know,
So.
And
Yeah.
I love Cindy's idea, but without the housing to put them in, I don't know how we scope in those. How many did you say we needed? 50?
50 students.
You know, and the other thing that's impacting, and again, I'm not pointing, I don't want to point fingers because this would be me in that boat, but with legislature and TRA letting Rule of 90 drop and not funding it, every teacher that we have that would meet the Rule of 90 that is staying now that maybe wouldn't have stayed had the Rule of 90 been in place. I just had it on my phone, but I don't want to, it's about $43,000 a year from somebody on the very bottom of our salary schedule to the top. So by the state saying they can't afford to create, to go back to a Rule of 90 or a version of that because it's too expensive, the state's paying it anyway, except instead of coming out of, it's coming off our backs. We're having, as districts, as boards, we're having to come up with that. And I find somebody, the group had finally put out a nice spreadsheet I'm bringing with me, because I tried to explain that to legislators, and
They don't get that.
it ends a conversation in a hurry when I bring it up. So might run off a bunch of these and hand them out and stack them around the Capitol on Wednesday when I'm down there and see if anybody pays attention. But
Well, and you know, it's not just on the backs of the school board, it's on the backs of students
Yeah.
and families.
locally, it's on our
It
back.
hits the local community. I don't want to see us lose any staff, because we have good staff here. We have good students, we have good staff, we have a good school district. And it really stinks that we're in this position. But this is not, I guess what I would like to see us do to move forward with this, and I get that people are gonna have to wait a little longer, but sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. And I would like to see us table this for tonight and let us dig in as individual board members and really get a good handle on what this looks like and how it's going to impact students and families and staff and the whole system. And then come back and maybe even have a special board meeting that would take place before April 1st. That would be my preference.
I agree with you.
So is that a motion and a second?
I can make it a motion.
I'll second it.
So motion and a second to table this to another meeting, and we'll look at the calendar to add a special meeting before April 1st. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, so how are we gonna get some of our questions answered?
Well, I was gonna,
Yeah,
I need to know what those questions are. So if
Yeah.
we wanna do the motion and then we'll come back and rifle at me some of your questions, or if you wanna email them to me, what they are, just so I know what information. You know, you had said you'd like to see the actual cost per change or per, I have that, I can pull that together in a document, share with you. But beyond that, I just need to know what else you want, so I can have that information for you when we get back together again.
okay.
Do we,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
gen through some other questions about some other options for consideration.
I think we need to vote on if we're tabling it or not.
Right,
yeah.
Before we continue
Sure.
to have the conversation, so.
So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion about tabling it? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes with all members voting yes and Holly voting no
Okay. Now I'm gonna,
to table it. So now let's pick a date.
oh. What does next Monday night work?
Works for me.
They have a college class in here that night, just so you know, like the 24th. 11th grade college application information course in here, so if we wanted to, you'd have to have it somewhere else. Because it is conferences, I think, too.
Could we have it at the library? The public library? We could have our meeting at the public library.
We've had it at the library. We've also had it in the back room at Security State Bank before. We've had it in the cafeteria here before.
Cafeteria's a little, maybe a little
Conferences at
noisy.
night, so it might
Yeah.
be-
Yeah, that's not fair.
Or, yeah, they go into the night, right? Conferences on Monday?
Yeah, Monday is the Rippleside conferences,
Yeah.
the 24th, and
Okay.
Yeah,
What about Tuesday?
Tuesday works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me.
6:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30?
6:30 is fine. Gotta collect that.
Yes.
6:30, anytime works for me.
Well, what do you want, board members?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
There we go, 6 o'clock, let's do it.
Do you think we'll be done in 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wake up time.
You can get up till 8:30.
No, 7:30.
Dan, I'd like to see, like, one of my questions is, and I know that your administrative team is small, but I'd like to see that you looked at that too, and any areas of improvement there. Because I think that's important to address when we're talking about budget.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for that. If you come up with something, shoot me an email so I can have it for you, if something else you come up with between now and. I would encourage board members, you wanna come in and meet with me and have that, or if you wanna come in and partners, or 3 of you, I can't have more than 3 for quorum purposes. I don't know if you wanna look at scheduling those, but more than willing to do that individually or with a couple of board members at a time.
Do you guys want to set those schedules now, or do you want to reach out to him individually?
I like the group idea, so I always think it's great to have these conversations with
other, yeah.
I asked my questions this morning, but I will sit in on any group just so I can hear everybody else's conversation, so I can get to your ideas.
Do you have dates?
Not sure how to schedule. I won't be available Wednesday. This is kind of the one I got right now. The rest I can, probably be pretty flexible. Thursday morning I have I gotta get into the right week. Thursday morning, I have a cabinet meeting at 9 o'clock. Otherwise Thursday and Friday for the most part at this point.
I could do Friday over lunch.
I can do Friday too.
Like noontime, is that you're
Yeah,
looking for
we could
lunch?
eat at the Gobbler Grill too, probably.
I think they're open to staff, yeah, they probably let board members eat then too.
Anyone else want to come on Friday at noon?
Yeah, I can't do anything on Friday. Thursday afternoon.
I can come Friday at noon,
There's your three.
but if someone else has that and
You
needs
say
that.
on Friday too, or?
No,
Oh. So we got Holly, Dawn, and Cindy on Friday at noon?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, Brian, when can you and Ron, or when can you, what works for you?
Brian, could you do Monday morning?
Monday mornings are really bad for me.
I could.
I mean, I could do it after,
Maybe we got something before too.
We could do
but
it
then
after
maybe we
10.
could get you something that didn't have just bullet points of a discussion, maybe agenda, and then just maybe go through it.
It's Monday the 24th you're looking at, right? The morning of our
Is that enough time? Of course, I can do weekend too.
Yeah, evening time would be better for me if Monday's too late.
I can be flexible.
you wanna do it like later on this Thursday?
Yeah, I could do Thursday.
Thursday I'll be out of town, but I still like the Monday time for me.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there's enough time to really,
Or Saturday, Sunday. Not gonna limit myself to a weekday on this.
Yeah, I'm fine with you.
Yeah,
Except the 22nd, I can. Sunday, I could.
but that's just me. Doesn't have to be others.
All right, you're throwing a whole bunch of dates out.
yeah. What about,
I'm not keeping up,
what
sorry.
about Friday afternoon?
No, that, I can't do
You're-
that.
you're
No,
gone
Thursday,
Thursday and
Friday.
Friday.
Well, yeah, I just,
Sure.
Kylan's in town and my grandson.
Got
So
it.
after, coming Saturday, I'm really available. I mean, I can sneak out. I might be able to, Friday afternoon, I probably could. It depends what time, I can do an hour. Yeah.
I can't do Friday afternoon, but I
Okay.
can connect with Cassie and see if she wants to meet too and try to work something.
Let me know.
Yeah.
What time you guys thinking Friday afternoon?
Yeah, it's either Friday afternoon or Monday morning, I could do it after 10. But that would not before that.
It's before the meeting. I mean, I don't know if
Sure.
it's still gonna get discussed at that evening.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, still gonna get discussed Monday night of all the stuff, so it doesn't matter if it's Monday, it's still gonna go on the agenda, right?
Well, Tuesday is our meeting.
Oh, Tuesday, yeah, I would rather do Monday, it's kind of fit
What
in
time on
my
Monday?
10,
10?
yeah.
Okay.
Let me see. Oops. I have a meeting at noon in Brainerd on Monday, so we should be able to be done by 11:15, you think?
Yeah.
You can, just, we don't want you to speed. That's the 24th, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And anybody else can come, we can have one more.
Jarrell and Brian and Jen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then I'll reach out to Cassie and, we gotta stay under 3 at either of these meetings, but just see if she's got anything. I don't know if one of you wanna reach out to her if she wants to come up, isn't comfortable coming up on her own.
I can message her.
All right, and then I'll also reach out to her, just let her know what we're doing.
All right, I got it down, Monday, March 24th at 10. It's on my calendar.
March 24th.
Yep.
Well, that's the
10.
23rd, okay.
Yep.
All right,
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you, Dan.
everybody, for your patience and accommodations.
yeah,
We'll get there.
we'll show her a good plan.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your discussion on all that.
Right, approve the resolution relating to the termination non-renewal of probationary teachers due to out-of-field placement.
Yeah, this one I missed on the February board meeting, so we have to It just, he does, that's out of field placement, so we have to go through this and post and all that, so.
Oh, right.
Oh, does it need to be discussion or just needs a motion?
Just need a motion and approval. that we-
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Holly, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dawn, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. All right, administrative reports, any board member reports?
We had jumping ahead.
We did receive a donation from Riverwood of some
Oh, yeah.
furniture. So I went and picked that up this morning and we'll figure out what we're gonna do with that. It was some standing desks. They throw a lot of their stuff in the trash and I had mentioned that if there's ever nice stuff, that doesn't need to go. So they were replacing, so we did accept that donation. It was in our consent agenda.
Yeah, thank you, that was nice. Any committee reports?
We had a policy committee, just reviewed a handful of policies that,
I never got my email.
for the
So-
policy.
Yeah, so I didn't come because I thought we were canceled this
Okay,
month. So I might need to get added back on that.
all right,
I
I'll
don't know.
see.
First reading of harassment and violence, staff development, and school-sponsored student publications and activities, so.
Yeah, updates provided by the MSBA is all that
Okay.
we reviewed there.
Principals report, Mr. Dockin?
We had grade level data meetings last week, so our title group gets together with all grade level teams. We go through data, look at our next intervention cycles, talk about students at risk, also successes, so that was really good. Fourth grade with Sea Life as part of their underwater unit. It was actually kind of fun, I was good. A great time. Kind of unique experience. We got to go behind the scenes and get the full tour of Sea Life, so the kids got to go up above the tanks and got the full service at Sea Life, so it was really cool for the kids to experience. Fifth graders just completed there. They went to Adventure Zone last week in Duluth. Sixth grade choir presented to the opera Rusalka with the lyric of the North Opera on March 5th. First and second grade are going to a music performance carnival, the animals with the Minnesota Orchestra at the Brainerd Performing Arts Center, April 16th.
Nice.
Fifth grade, the choir's collaborating with Aiken High School and the Legacy Youth Chorale for a concert at the end of April. Second grade's doing career explorations unit, inviting families to come in and share careers. Second grade also has been working on country and insect reports, working on research. And then just staff. Lisa and I talk daily about the shortage of staff and subs and all that. Our subs, but our staff have been super flexible, supporting each other, so it's been great.
Good, thank you. Ms. Demars?
Yeah, basically what Andy said, we had lots of staff out today, and thankfully the teachers just step up. They are amazing. They cover and the preps, and I don't know what I'd do without them. I know we wouldn't be able to do it. We're working on training and planning for the MCAs and MTAs. They're coming up in April, and so lots of trainings and test monitoring trainings to make sure we're all ready for that. I completed all the teacher evaluations this year. I counted them all up. I had 53 of them. So I'm thankful that many of the staff will be tenured next year, so then they will only need one instead of 3 a year. So that's great. I'm working on the para and support staff. I have them on a rotation, so they'll be done by the first week in April. So then all of those should be done. Conferences on March 24th. In-service day is the 25th. We're hopefully planning to update our course registration materials because we need to have our kids register. So as soon as we know staffing, we can do that. So we're waiting for you. So we're hoping to have kids register the first week in April if we can. That's kind of our goal. We're behind. We usually have them register in March. So that we can get numbers figured out so we know what classes teachers are teaching and figure all of those pieces out, what sections we need. On a good note, I want to say thank you so much to the tech team and the technology committee. Chancey Nordic shared with me a list of wish list items that was created 10 years ago by Chancey. And we were looking at the list. There were 33 items on the list, and 29 of the 33 items have been completed and checked off. So kudos to them for all of the great things that they do for our students to allow them to access all of the technology that we have in our buildings. We were able to live stream state competitions for dance, wrestling, and hockey in the auditorium, so kids got to watch those. And that was super fun to watch the kids cheering for Jake and for the hockey team and for the dancers. So that was just really fun to have that energy in the auditorium when they were winning and pinning and dancing, so it was really fun. We had our graduation meeting with our seniors today, and so that really just brought it home on how close we are to graduation already. On all of these final dates that the kids have, they're getting their caps and gowns the first week in April, and so it's just gonna kind of snowball, and all of a sudden we'll be here. They decided they wanted outdoors, they want a parade. We're gonna do a walkthrough at Rippleside before they go on their senior day at Breezy Point. So they'll be able to wave and wish people well. The seniors are gonna write collaboratively a letter to the sixth graders. And kind of give them some tips and tricks on what to know about Aiken High School, so we'll see what that comes up to be. Middle School Student Council, we had our 7th and 8th grade dance last Friday night on March 7th. We had 90 students who attended, and they had the Hollywood red carpet theme, and so lots of fun was had by all of the kids. It was a fun night. And then March 7th, there was a career exploration day at CLC for our 10th graders. So all our 10th graders loaded the bus, and they were able to go and spend about 2 hours visiting and exploring different career fields. So they came back and they had a really good day. They talked about different things that they didn't know that they might want to look into. So it was good. Oh, and Community Service Day is May 14th for our seniors. So they will be, Laura and Renee are already lining up people where kids can go and sign up for different areas that they want to go and do their service project on May 14th. So yeah, if you know of anybody that needs their lawn raked or any work done, let Renee, Laura, Jim, or I know.
I got a load of those ladies.
Is that third year of the community service?
Third year.
Right, third year?
You can send them my way. I've got lots of work, always.
All right.
I wanted to add too, I'm about done with my Brownsville observations for the year as well. So, it's good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything from community education?
Laura's not here.
Laura's not here, so.
All right, superintendent's report?
I'll jump in real quick. Enrollment, we're down 5 students from last month, a couple in the high school, junior, senior. We talked about a couple that have maybe gone into the alt school program. Again, it fluctuates back and forth. 1 month we gain a couple, next month we drop a couple. So that'll probably stop happening, where we'll probably see, unfortunately, what happens at this time of year, kids maybe see the writing on the wall. They might not have the credits or whatever, and our work's really cut out for us to keep them coming. So, which again falls back to the staff but yeah, but we are down 5 this month. Legislative updates I kind of gave you in my discussion today. I kind of went through those and talked about a lot of them. There isn't a whole lot for legislative updates. You all saw everybody's seated now and in place, and many think that's a good sign that maybe things will get done. But we'll wait and see, both federally and statewide. I would encourage you, the MSBA does a nice job of getting out legislative updates and kind of their lobbying briefings, and keep following those. And by all means, if you have any concern, reach out to our reach out to well, depending where you're at, you know, we have a number of legislators that cover parts of our district. But find your person, and if you have a comment, something you want to share, I think it does make a difference. So they do appreciate hearing and getting feedback from the constituents. So I'd encourage you to do that if you have something that you feel you need to share. So, but I'll be going back down to the Capitol on Wednesday. That's the Northeast Superintendent's day. We're signed up, and we've scheduled a number of different appointments throughout the day with area representatives and senators. So I'm hoping to get in and talk. I visited with many of them last week in a little bit different setting with different groups. This will be more focusing on the northeastern Minnesota. So, long-term facilities and planning update. I met on Friday with Jeff Schultz and Kent Corbett of ICS and Todd Rapp, looking at potential wording and where do we go with messaging on that side of things, and really just gave Todd Rapp a rundown of Rapp strategies of where we're at and what we're seeing, what we are hearing. And I'm not hearing a whole lot on it, so if you're hearing information, pass it forward, or have the people come let me know. But Todd Rapp will be here on April 1st or April 1st, I think it is. Yeah, April 1st to talk strategy moving forward, whether, you know, what are we looking at? Is it a pre-K6 bus garage, pre-K6 community center, pre-K12? He'll talk us through some of that, and we had good discussion, and just to try and give him where we're at. And I think sometimes we're narrowing it in, and sometimes we're all over the place, but he's just going to talk about what that means and what the ask means. We'll do some work with Ehlers between now and then as well to get a more accurate tax impact based on the different scenarios that will be on the table. So he's here mainly to talk more on the strategy of what questions, or how we form the questions, do 1, 2, 3, over that. That's his expertise. So that'll be then I'll have more meetings with them moving forward. But that's what the April 1st. So if you have any questions, specific questions pertaining to that, send them my way, because I feel like I gave him everything I had, and he's still wants more in depth or more dig in. So if you have something you want me to have him address, even if you think we maybe already talked about it, send it my way, and I'll make sure he gets it, so we can get some answers that night.
And then that trip to Staples.
Oh yeah, that's later in April. We did go out and meet with Ken Westman out at the hospital. And we set up, and I've contacted the superintendent at Staples, and I sent out a calendar invite today to see about getting maybe members, not only of our board and administrative team, but also maybe some members from the hospital auxiliary or hospital board to go and take a look at what Staples did with their remodel and their wellness center addition. I haven't been there. I don't know. I might, between now and then if I'll get there or not, but it'd be just good to go and see. And they had a collaboration with Lakewood
Health. It's Lakewood Health.
Lakewood Health Services to get that. One thing, and I wanted to, the hospital keeps coming up in our discussions, and I really want to sit down and chat with Ken and let him know, hey, we want I don't want us to be putting words into you, telling you what you need to do. But we do want to partner, and we do want to have those discussions, and he's very open to that and very supportive of seeing what we can do together and what we can do if we decide to build.
I'm available for that tour that day, even earlier.
What day is it?
Was it April? It's later.
It's the 23rd of April.
Yeah. We're looking at calendars, and that's how far out it put us. I thought, well, let's try to get it on everybody's calendar, and whoever can make it will go. And if you can't make that day and we need to run over, I want to go over another day, I'll see what we set up. Superintendent in Staples, I know him fairly well, and he's pretty open to having us, he wants to show off what they have to anybody and everybody basically, so he'd have us come back, so.
Well, I hope someday you get to be that superintendent that gets to show off our stuff.
What time is that?
Well, we had scheduled right now, I just put from 2 to 5, and that's really what works for us, and I don't know that we couldn't push that either way some. I just wanted to get it on I put 2 to 5 on my calendar just so it's there, and you guys take a look at it, and if one end or one side of that looks better, and if maybe some of us are there earlier, I wouldn't be against going and just hanging out there, and if we have board members that come at one time, be there and whatever, so.
So was it on the 23rd or 24th?
I think it's 24th.
Why does it say 23rd?
23rd.
Yeah, Wednesday the 23rd.
Wednesday, 23rd, yep. Sorry.
I didn't have that down.
Wednesday,
It just came today in our email.
Yeah. we
This
dropped-
month?
Yeah, we dropped 2 in the senior and 1 in the juniors, and I think they just dropped down. Well, we lost
So there's 5 that are,
5 in our regular day that we've decreased. We've only decreased 2 when we figure in our alt school students. If you don't go all the way to the bottom of comparing February of 25, if you go to the very bottom number, it's 953.
Yeah.
January of 25 was 955. So chances are the high school, the juniors and seniors slid down.
We lost 2 in kindergarten.
Yeah, I saw that
Okay.
too.
That was
Yeah.
where the other 2 were.
Where
So,
did they go?
2 in kindergarten, do we have a move out, do you know, or do you remember?
Were they a singular family or just a couple that?
I mean, that's generally what happens, you know, I don't know specifically what 2 here.
Yeah, they show that we had 2 from January to, yeah.
I think when we're trying to retain students and recruit them, we need to know why they're leaving. That's a big key.
And generally, I mean, I'll speak from the elementary side of things, like if I know they're leaving, I definitely call the family and have a conversation with them. These 2 specific kids, I'm not sure on. But the other kids that have left, like during the middle of the year, unless we know it's like a move out, which happens, you know, but if we just have kids that are leaving that we know are staying in the area, I definitely call families and have a conversation.
Anything else?
That's all I have for.
I would just, when we look at losing students, and we lose 2 or 3 in this month, and 2 and 3 in this month, and 5 in this month, those numbers start to add up. I was looking at something not too long ago, it was just a few years ago, there were 1,300 students in this district. And we're down to 927 students. And it doesn't seem like this is slowing down, that the trend is slowing down.
No, and it's not gonna slow down because we're graduating 85, 90 students
Right.
and we're bringing in 60.
Right. When we take that into consideration, but I don't think and maybe I'm wrong, Dan, you gave that presentation not too long ago. When you looked at that projected number of how many students we would have, did that take into account students that are leaving, maybe not leaving the district, but doing alternative?
Did projections based on past data.
Past data, okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was the 10-year projections,
Yeah.
right, and we were pretty close to those,
Yeah.
and so I think that those 10-year projections were off of birth rates.
Yeah.
Well, at the rate we're going, we're gonna meet the 10-year projection in a year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so the one thing I'll say to that, right, like, I mean, at the elementary, it's a little more transient, I would say, just with move-ins, move-outs, like, I think we're up like 6 or 8 second graders since the start of the year, like, you know, we had a family move in, you know, last week. That was just, they've been going to Brainerd, but they're here, like, he's not attributing necessarily the move-ins that we have to, like, I'll say at the elementary level, I'm gonna throw out a number, 75, 80%, if not 90%, are kids leaving, like moving. They're not staying within our district.
I feel like that's something the board would like to have a better, other than just a number, if we can get an idea as to why.
I also know that we've got a fair number of people who are coming from out of the district to come here, right? And so what is it that makes us attractive to them, and can they bring their friends?
We have Villager and Brainerd kids that come here.
Yeah.
It's the reality. We have kids that open enroll that would be
Go that way, yeah.
You know, owning in Malacca that are open enrolling up here.
Well, how many are open enrolled to come here?
You weirdly would hear, so I just was discussing with Brainerd, just a couple of people from the Brainerd School District, and they're actually looking at opening 5th grade in Nisswa, because I guess we, like, all of the little districts pull those kids from Nisswa to other districts. I'm sure Pequot takes a lot of them, but because they don't want to go into the big giant schools of the Brainerd School District. So you have people that are open enrolling into Nisswa when their kids are younger, but then it gets like they get out of the Nisswa, and now those people will look at coming the other directions for schools because that school's too big for what they want their kids. So Brainerd is actively looking at opening for 5th and possibly 6th grade in there to try and hold families because they lose so many out of that one.
Well, I would be really curious how many we have coming in to our district versus how many,
Trying to find my,
oh, right here at the
Up
bottom.
until recently,
Residents
it's been
elsewhere.
close to a wash.
Yeah, yeah.
62 and 21. So 62 high school and 21 from Rippleside.
9%. 8% of total.
Okay, so more discussion on that. Okay. All right, upcoming meetings, March 26th, Personnel Committee. April 1st, School Board Work Session, April 8th, Safety Committee meeting, April 21st, School Board meeting, and then we just added Tuesday, March 25th, 6 o'clock. School Board meeting, right?
yep.
We've had lots on the 23rd, 24th, 25th, so I want to keep them all straight.
When
Okay.
should policy committee be? It's not on there, and I
Yeah,
don't have it in my.
we went to every other month, so it won't be
March
until.
26th at 3:45.
Oh,
We went to April.
yeah, I don't see.
It should be May 9th, I think.
Yeah, personnel maybe is what you're asking policy committee.
Oh, I'm
Policy.
sorry, yeah, I was reading
Pol-
personnel.
Yeah,
Did I
policy's May 9th, I think is what it was. And I'll look up that invite, make sure your name is on it, and then
Yeah.
the numbers, open enrollment in or out. I got an email here, because I just did that, but I can't find the email, so I'll share that with the board.
Okay, anything else?
I had a parent ask me if we're meeting on April 21st because it's a holiday and there's in school that day. It's Easter Monday.
Ooh. That's not one we can't legally meet on though, so, but do we not
It's up to-
legally, do we not meet when school's closed?
Not really a holiday, right?
No.
That's up to the board, I guess, if,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay
Good
with it.
I'm
question.
okay with it.
Yeah, this is on my calendar for
I'm
years.
flying home that day, so I'm not sure. Okay, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Holly,
I'll second it.
second by Brian, all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes, meeting adjourned.
thank you, everybody.